wife and I are on vacation in New York. We went by a Whole Foods. They had these chopped sirloin steaks on sale. So I thought I'd grab one and then we can have a dinner inside. Have a nice little quiet date night after all of our sightseeing. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of this fat off the top. And cut this into some chunks. Throw that into my skillet. And that's gonna render down so we can kind of fry these steaks that we're gonna cut out of this thing. Let's start with the way this looks. It's ugly as crap, right? It's all dried out, looks horrible. This is an awesome steak. This isn't how this looked when we bought it. We bought it 3 days ago. It's been sitting in the fridge since then, drying out. And it's not so much aging, like when people talk about dry aging, this isn't exactly what's going on. This dry aging is a much longer process. It's measured in like weeks. All I'm really doing here is pulling moisture out of the surface of the meat so we can get like a nice, good sear on it, and it will be more flavorful. Meat, like our muscle, is mostly water, so the more water we pull out of it, the denser the meat is, the more meat you're actually getting, the more flavorful it is. This is largely two separate muscles. This top part is called the culotte. It's the bicep femoris. On us, it would be like the hamstring. It's also called the picanha. It's very popular in Brazilian and other Hispanic cultures. Sold as sort of one whole piece. It looks like a big triangle. They leave a nice thick fat cap on it and they smoke it or cook it all kinds of ways, and it's amazing. It's an amazing cut of meat. It's one of my favorite big pieces of meat to cook. This bottom part is the glute med. This is your actual sirloin. This is how Whole Foods typically cuts these things. And it's how a lot of butchers will cut these things. If you can tell, this thing is like 1.25 inches thick. This probably weighs like 2 pounds. This is a huge cut of meat. And it's cheap. We bought this for like $7 a pound. But so you get people all the time, they're like, hey, that's really a nice cut, but like, can I get a small one? And we would just be like, nah, not really. It's kind of the trade-off. Why it's so cheap is because you gotta buy this whole big thing. But I would rather do this in some smaller portions. A, it'll cook better. You can totally just throw this in a skillet and it'll be fine. But like these two muscles especially are completely different grains, textures. They're just very different steaks. This will really just largely peel off. This is also two separate pieces. This is your actual sirloin. You'll see this sold as like a mouse steak or a mouse tender. And there's kind of an ugly line here. We're just gonna cut right through that. And so now you have 3 much more manageable steaks. This one's a nice little fillet. This is the culotte piece. There's a little bit of membrane here, some silver skin. This is a real skill-based thing that you can kind of practice. But what I'm gonna do is slide my knife right under here. And I'm not cutting, I'm just pushing. It's just not something you want to be chewing on. Look at this pan. You can see how much fat is rendering out of this. So these are lean steaks now, and we're gonna fry them in this, and they'll be delicious. I'm gonna season this up. These smaller pieces, I'm really gonna get like all sides of them. Really searing every side. If you really want to be a true blue meat fanatic, what you want to do with these chunks of fat is actually dice them much smaller before you put them in the skillet, and then render them down nice and crispy like this, kind of like you see with bacon fat. Hit them with some salt and eat them, and they're amazing. Just like pork crackles, but beef. I got it on a very high heat. We probably only seared each side for like a minute. The culotte, I'm definitely gonna hit on like all 4 sides. It's about time to flip these. We're just getting, look at that. So you can see, especially because the meat was so dry, look at that sear. That's gonna be like very crunchy and extremely flavorful. I'm gonna sear these on the rest of the sides, and then I'm gonna throw them in the oven to finish.